Morning. Hi guys. The Thanksgiving prep is underway. It is Halloween morning, and this is when I typically start to think about Thanksgiving, only for the simple fact that I cannot get pumpkins past Halloween here in LA. They can be really hard to find, and I always like to have pumpkins for my centerpieces. So this year we are going to be having a big party. We are going to be having 17 people, 18 potentially. So really the only place that I can fit that many people is out here in the vegetable garden at this table. So I came out here to sort of think about how many pumpkins I was going to need, because I better go and get them this morning from this little farm that's near our house. Otherwise there will be none left. So I figured Halloween morning was as good as ever. So for this party, this is what I'm thinking. So I can only seat 10 at this table, but we can really sit a big group by adding extenders onto each side and creating almost like a big H. So I use those 6-foot rental tables, I call them, the kind you get at Home Depot that fold up. And then I can put 3 on each end and 1 at each head of the table. So that's 5 and 5, 8 in the center, and then I have my 18. Aren't you impressed with my crude animation? I had to get 2 middle schoolers to show me how to do that. These are the same foldable tables you might remember that I used for my husband's 60th birthday party. And I make them look better by just investing in having cloths made for them. And I love them because I use the Umbrella fabric, so it's perfect for outdoors. You can store the cloths and they're fitted to the size of the table. So that way I just make them all the same size, and then I have a wardrobe of cloths that I can use for entertaining, and it works out so well. So my dad, as you may know, he used to have a show on HGTV for years. And he also has a wonderful furniture and fabric line, and I love his Umbrella fabric. So he showed me this one, which I thought this would be really great. Lots of fall colors here, and I thought these cloths against the green would be pretty. And then when I get my pumpkins and they get all nestled in, I think it just would really look like a beautiful fall feeling. And then I just have them every year because we typically have Thanksgiving out here in the garden. Just like the first Thanksgiving, I suppose, outside. I've been doing it outside here for about 10 years. I've only had it rain once. And that was really interesting. We all had to cram inside our living room. We brought in a bunch of tables and chairs. It was still fun, but oh gosh, I just hope it doesn't rain, because then we'll really have a video to watch. I don't know what I'll do. I'll have to come up with something. So last week I dropped this fabric off at a local upholsterer. So usually anybody who's a workroom and does sewing will sew up cloths like that for you. And I brought the old cloth, so all he had to do was sort of match the construction, because I know that cloth fits. And then I'll have a fall cloth in the cloth wardrobe, which I'm so excited about. So this is in the works. Now we have to figure out how many pumpkins I might need. So it's a pretty big table, and sometimes the pumpkins just vary in size. So I think if I had 2 here, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe I'll get 6, and then this is going to be probably a little bar situation, maybe kind of like these olive trees, although this one's looking a little crispy. I don't know, maybe I'll get a pumpkin or 2 for the bar there. All right, so what did we say? 8. All right, so if we do 8 pumpkins, I think that will do the trick. All right, you guys, I'm going to take you to this really cute little farm stand that's in town. They sell the most beautiful pumpkins. It's super cute. We usually go there right before Halloween. I didn't get there this year, so I'm hoping that they have some of these beautiful Cinderella pumpkins. They are my favorites. Well, here it is, the lonely Cinderella pumpkin. There looks to be not a lot left. All right, so this is what I've found so far. I love the color variation. These are my favorite, these orange ones, but they only had 1 because the rest of them have all of this sort of damage. I really would love to get 1 more. But see, I'm just afraid that that is going to start rotting. Let's see, there's another one over here. This is a beauty. Let's see, look at that. I wonder if I could put a Band-Aid on it. Because it's so pretty. I just love the color of it. All right, I'm going to take my chances with it. I just really want to have 2 to balance the design. But then I noticed a big bin of mini Cinderella-like pumpkins, and I thought those could be pretty to kind of fill in with the larger ones. I really love when they have this sort of white, milky dusting over it. So I am going to add this one. I think just having different sizes and shapes really will help as well. Then right before checking out, I could not resist the mini Indian corn. It's so beautiful. So I got a few of those as well. Okay, I'm happy with my selection. I actually think I got a good amount of pumpkins. I just love the colors. I just think Mother Nature does it best. I mean, look at all of these beautiful colors. I just think the soft sort of autumn pastels are so beautiful. They add such a sophistication to a tablescape. I just think it's so pretty. It reminds me of like an old antique painting. And it's all thanks to Mother Nature. Oh, I can't wait to get these home and see what they look like on the table. The pumpkins I can leave out, but the corn I'm going to keep inside just until we get a little bit closer. There. I think they're so pretty. I got a few because I thought I'd put some on our front door too. All right, so that's the corn. The table is totally filthy. I will clean that as we get closer. If I clean it now, I'm just going to be cleaning it every day leading up to Thanksgiving. But I do want to see what the pumpkins look like. Let's get an idea of what it'll look like. Okay, so I have not arranged these pumpkins, but I've got them all on the table. That's step one. The other thing I like to do anytime I have like a big centerpiece like this is just make sure that the placemats can fit. There, okay, so they definitely fit on this side and they're going to fit on that side. Okay, so that means I basically have this whole center area to play with. Okay, I just wiped them all off because some of them were pretty dirty, and I also had to wipe off the price tags that they wrote on the pumpkins. There, I'm just sort of wiping them down. I'll wipe them down as we get closer, but look at that amazing specimen. I mean, you can see why they call it a Cinderella pumpkin. It looks like it'll just spring right into a carriage at any moment. It's so beautiful, I love it. And one of the things I like to do is not have them all line up in a straight line, but stagger them a little bit because I think it just looks a little prettier that way. And that then leaves room. Yeah, that's a good shot. You can see that, how they're kind of staggered. And then that then leaves room for the second layer, which should be just something that's complementary, but texture. That's why I love these little Indian corn bundles, which I'm going to take the rubber bands off, but I am going to put them in this box so that the birds don't get them. I just wanted to kind of see what it'll look like when they're in place. There. And when you're doing table settings, you have to imagine there's people sitting on both sides. So you have to consider the perspective from both angles. There. Okay. Now, I'm glad I bought some of the bigger ones because I think we need some of the bigger ones too. Maybe they will not go on the gates. Maybe I need them on the tables. Let's see. I'm doing a buffet, so I don't have to worry about any food coming on this table. So we really could just fill it up with decor. Yeah, see, I think it is nice to have a few of these bigger ones. I think there's something here. I think this will work. I am actually going to leave the finishing touch of this whole thing to my father, who is quite good with these table arrangements. So I'm going to see what he thinks. But I also think maybe just some clear little vases with either herbs or some greenery, just even picked from the ficus tree, or maybe even like some rosemary, just could be fun to sort of add some greenery and soften it a bit. But I think it's promising. I'm going to see how this little bruise is going to do. What I'm thinking is I would just put like an arrangement here with some greenery, and it would just hide that. The farm lady told me just don't touch it, just leave it. But I'm sort of tempted to put some Vaseline on it just because I heard that that can really preserve the pumpkin. I secretly want to put some Neosporin on it in hopes that it heals. Yeah, I don't know. That might be asking a bit too much. I may need the fairy godmother for that to happen. But see how pretty they are? I just love them. I think they're really fab. I have my draped tablecloths in the works. I have my centerpiece semi-figured out. I can just cross those two things off the list. And I just love seeing the pumpkins out there. I can see them from my kitchen window and they're just so beautiful. They look right at home on that table. There we go. So, I don't know, it's feeling a lot like Thanksgiving. Okay, we survived Halloween and now it is full steam ahead into Thanksgiving. Yay! So this little alley here is where we had the party for my husband's 60th birthday party. You may remember seeing that. I did contemplate having Thanksgiving here, but I just think it's too narrow. But for drinks and dessert, I wanted to be out here because Thanksgiving in LA can either be really, really hot. There was one year, I'm not kidding, it must have been 90 degrees. We all were joking that we were roasting with the turkey. It was so hot. Or it can be really nice like this. It's probably about 70 degrees. I love this little area. It's kind of a mess right now. I have to clean it up, but there's a beautiful table out here. It's typically where we do like little barbecue things. And there is a awning, which is really great. Although it looks really shady now, it does get really sunny. So when people are coming, usually around noon or 12:30, it could be pretty bright out here. But with the awning, it just makes it so much nicer. Even when you don't need the awning, like now when it's shady, I love to have it because it almost protects you. You feel like you're in a little outdoor room, like a pavilion of some kind. And it's just so cozy out here. I like to do drinks and dessert in a different part of the yard, especially for a holiday like Thanksgiving, because it's such a heavy meal. People need to get up and move around, especially the kids. And then this furniture all gets moved. We moved it for the party and we never moved it back. What I love about sitting here, especially when there are kids, is you can watch them play. So this is another benefit of why we actually bought this house, is because it had a huge yard. It was the little house on the big yard that people wanted to actually knock down, but we loved having the big yard because we had kids. And there is this play structure that they all love to play on. So although my kids are probably a little too old for the play structure, they do come out here. It's a bit of a mess, but that can be their job, cleaning it up for their cousins. And then we'll probably move the hammocks. We bought these hammocks during the pandemic because we would just spend a lot of time out here swinging in the hammocks, looking at the trees, wondering what was going on in the world. But anyway, so I will make this nice. And then there's a little seating area here where we could have hello. A husband. And a husband in his natural habitat. So I thought I would probably just spruce this up a little bit, get rid of the hammocks, because this is a nice seating area for drinks and appetizers. All right, so I think that'll work out perfectly. Now we need to think about the buffet and the menu. They're really tightly related, and you'll see why in a minute. And that does take some thought. I'll show you my process. During the month of November, I have these two things that have become so helpful, and maybe they'll be helpful for you too. You get yourself a nice legal pad. On the first page, you put your guests, and then throughout the month, you're going to add the menu, so you remember everything you're making. And then I like to do, as we get closer, a little run of show. So what do I need to do the day of, the day before, an hour before? How is it all going to work? Then everything is in this legal pad, and then I put everything in this little folder, because the folder is also going to hold the recipes. So a lot of these recipes I'll print from my website, or there'll be like other blogs that I see and I want to try that. We kind of have the same foods at Thanksgiving. I don't mix it up too much. I might add one or two new things because, like I'm sure at your house, we have our family favorites. And if you leave one off one year to try something new, people are not happy. So this is my red Thanksgiving folder. Everybody knows, don't touch mom's folder. I keep it in the kitchen. It comes to the store with me. It's at my desk. I'm always with my folder because everything I need is right in here. All right, now, this is how I plan the menu. I usually go back to my Thanksgiving folder. This is probably, I don't know, 10 or 15 years worth of Thanksgiving recipes, because every time there's a hit, it goes in the folder. So like if you are testing recipes from blogs each year, maybe you have your family favorites, you just put it all in one big folder and throw it in a bookshelf, and then you always know where the recipes are. It just helps from year to year. Okay, let's see, what is this? This is my mac and cheese recipe from a few years ago. Okay, I don't think I'm gonna make this because we have a lot of carbs happening this year. This is the one that is the real deal breaker. If this is not on our table, oh my family goes nuts. This is this Italian sausage potato casserole recipe. I will link to this in the description. I really should get it on my blog. It's not on my blog, but it's here on YouTube, and here is the recipe. So I will copy and paste and put it in the description so you guys have it, but it is delicious. It's like this mashed potatoes, sausage, mozzarella cheese thing to die for. So we're definitely making this. Okay, my almond tart, the French almond tart. My husband loves this, so I'm definitely making that. We do a bit of a like franglais Thanksgiving because my French husband is not really a huge Thanksgiving fan. It's the whole sweet and salty that he finds very strange, the turkey with the cranberry, the sweet potatoes with the marshmallows. He's just like, So I try to throw in a few franglais items that will make him happy. And that's pear almond tart he loves. So I'm going to do that, even though that's probably pretty French. You know, and then I just keep like little Thanksgiving tips that you get from like magazines and newspapers are in here. The chocolate cupcakes, I don't think we're gonna make those. I don't know why we made those one year. Ooh, that looks good, look at that. You know, magazine clippings, anything that looks interesting goes in here. Oh, and then this. This recipe has got to make it to the table. This is my mom's candied yam recipe. I mean, look at how this is written. This looks like a lot of my old Italian relatives' recipes. They just sort of put the ingredients and there's no method. This recipe is on the Kin Community channel and I lost the printout of it. So I had to just write it down. But it's super easy and it's really delicious and I will type it up for you and put it in the description. So this is going in the folder. All right, so we didn't really find that much in the folder this year, so I'm gonna have to print out some new things. So I know Thanksgiving is like a total carb fest and I usually load up on all the carbs, but then to balance it out, I do like to do some salads. And I don't do salads in a traditional sense of like greens and dressing and that kind of thing, although you could. I like to do more like hearty vegetable salads because that's kind of where the vegetables come into play. Thanksgiving is such a Rubik's Cube when it comes to the oven space. So I love these vegetable dishes that I can serve at room temperature. I can make them the day before and they don't take any oven space. So I'm gonna share 2 of these recipes with you next week, so you'll have them. It's 2 vegetarian side dishes, and then probably my roasted harvest salad that I did a few years ago will go on there. And maybe 1 more potato dish for my husband, because he does love his gratin dauphinois. I think I'll probably put that on the table as well. And then some sort of homemade bread. All right, now that I have my menu figured out, I am going to include it on my yellow pad so I know exactly what the plan is. And this is so helpful because I can't tell you how many holidays I've had where I didn't write it down in the early days. I would keep it all in my head and then I'd forget to make something and it would be like the day of and I'd be like, ooh, I was supposed to make that. So this way you're not gonna forget because it's all gonna be in your pad. All right, here it is. The menu for hors d'oeuvres, I'm just gonna keep it real simple just because I don't want people filling up too much on everything because we have a huge menu that we're planning. So I figured I'd just do 2 big cheese boards with just nuts, dried fruit, and crackers. Real easy. For the buffet, I have the turkey, the cranberry sauce, the gravy, the 2 sausage potato bakes, 2 of Mom's yams, 1 stuffing, 1 gratin dauphinois, or I might actually include my corn pudding, which launched yesterday. My mom really loves that corn pudding, and it's so easy to do because you basically just make it the day before, pour it in your dish, and bake it. So that's a little bit easier than the gratin dauphinois. Yes, my husband, if he'd give that up for the corn pudding. So just want to make everybody happy, right? And then for desserts, I think this is what we're going to do. 2 of the pear almond tarts. My parents are going to bring pumpkin pies. I also need to make my pecan squares. That's one of my deal breakers. If I don't have those, they're so yummy. And then 2 of the French apple tarts, which is another classic. I always like to make a little bit more than is needed because of the leftovers. I find if somebody is coming to someone's house for Thanksgiving and then they go home and they don't have any leftovers to enjoy for the week, that's kind of a bummer. So I like to make extra and then let everybody take a little box home with them. Okay, so on Amazon, I buy these little food takeout containers like this, and they make perfect little to-go boxes for Thanksgiving. I even like the color. I feel like it's really working in our scheme here. And then before we wrap up all the leftovers of the buffet, I let everybody come with their box and just take what they want to take home. And once these things are full, I find that they kind of don't really stay shut. It's kind of a mess. So I like to use these little stickers that I also got on Amazon. See? And I'll leave you links to these things below in case you want the same. That's right. I love the turkey. I know there's no turkey. That's a pumpkin. Looks like a turkey. I guess it's a pumpkin. It's a pumpkin. And then you can just fasten this with one of these cute little stickers and then write people's names on it and then stack them in the fridge. And then when it's time to go home, they can just go get their little box. Then when it comes time to planning the seating arrangement where everybody's gonna sit, I love to just draw it out like this. And it's usually a discussion. So I tend to do it in pencil first. These are my tips when it comes to thinking about place settings and where people should sit. I do think it's fun to split the hosts up. So even though I love my husband and I'd love to sit next to him at Thanksgiving, I think when you have a big crowd like this, you want to be split up so that you can kind of entertain your guests and that people feel like they're not in Siberia. So I will probably be at one of these tables and then my husband will be at this table. Then I reserve this center section for what I call the VIPs. Now, everybody's a VIP, let's be honest, but these are maybe, I don't want to say elderly because I know my parents are going to be watching this. Not elderly, more seasoned, have had more Thanksgivings under their belt. Let's go with that. Just because it's going to be uncomfortable for them to kind of maybe be in the sun. I rented actually 2 umbrellas here, but I don't really know how that's going to work. The kids also like to be jumping up and down. So this way they don't get stuck in the center of the table and they can kind of run off if they need to. I am a big fan of having everybody together at one table. I don't like to have kiddie tables. My parents never really had kiddie tables and we never did that with our kids. I find that that's how you learn how to be part of a table and how to converse with adults, is that you have to integrate them and keep them together. So you just need to pair the kids with either a favorite relative. I wouldn't do a parent because they usually will be on their better behavior with either a good family friend to their left and a favorite relative to their right. If they're there with the parents, I find they somehow act up a little bit more. It's better to have them be with their favorite relative or family friend. I also like to mix and match sort of the introverts from the extrovert. So I usually will put the 2 extroverts kind of like at one end here and one end here so that they're kind of keeping this conversation going and the extrovert here is keeping this conversation going, and then pepper them with a few more like quieter or introvert people. And I also like to mix up boy, girl, boy, girl. I know it's a traditional thing, but I do think you get better conversation sometimes if you mix up the sexes. Now that we have our menu, we can plan our buffet. You have to have the menu before you plan the buffet because you don't know what platters you're going to need until you know what you're going to be making. So that's why I do it in this order. So this is where my buffet is going to go. And it's really handy because it's just off the kitchen. So everything just ends up here and then people can just walk out the door and head to the tables. So it works out really well. I do get rid of these chairs, which is a tip if you are doing a buffet on your dining table. Get rid of the chairs because it's really hard not only for people to like get stuff, but it's really hard to kind of move around. Figuring out your buffet is not something you want to leave to the day of. Because if your house is like my house, you have to start digging up all of these platters and bowls. Some are in closets, some are out in the garage, and I've got to get the whole wardrobe figured out and get them out and cleaned so that on the day before Thanksgiving, you're not running around looking for all your serving things. Tip number 1. If you're ordering a table runner, just do it like another foot or so more than you needed. I just think there's something that looks sort of pretty about that. This does need to be ironed, so this will be one of my little tasks that need to be done. And buffet flow, as far as how the food is displayed, is something to think through. I usually front load it with everybody's favorites so that they get to the buffet, they see exactly what they want, they load up on that, and then they're more willing to try new things. I think if you put, like, if I started with like the broccoli salads and maybe the corn pudding, which is new for everybody this year, they may not take that. And so they'll pass it by and then they'll load up on the stuff that they really wanted. And then they're not gonna come back through the buffet and try something new. So I like to start with all the favorites first and then put the new stuff on the other end. Or the healthy stuff, do that too. Because they're not gonna start with the healthy stuff. And then for sizing, I'm just gonna put the plates here. I'll have a big stack of plates. And next to the turkey, I put my little gravy boat. I love this thing. I don't know if that's what it actually was intended to be. I got it at a antique like flea market place here in LA the weekend that we actually closed on our house, and it was $10. And I just thought someday we were gonna host Thanksgiving and I'm gonna put the gravy in here. This was about 13 years ago and I just fell in love with it, and it comes out only for Thanksgiving because it's so cherished. It just means the world to me because I bought it the weekend that we closed on this house, and saving up for our first house just took forever. We were in an apartment for about 6 years, and then 2 more years in the apartment with a baby who then turned 2 and just needed a yard. And we did it every week with the paychecks, you know, putting a little bit aside until we could afford that down payment. And so every time that little gravy boat comes out and is sitting on the table, I just feel enormous gratitude that we made it happen. We didn't give up. And it's just a fun little personal thing I always love to have on the table. So the precious gravy boat is there. Okay, and then for the cranberry sauce, I think I'm going to use something like this, just because I make my own cranberry sauce and it's one of my favorite things, so I'm going to give it a nice place of importance. And it seems to sort of mix and match with everything else that's going on here. I actually found this thing on Amazon, and it's like the most incredible quality. It's so heavy and has some beautiful detail to it. So it will go there. All right, we got a little corner here at the end of the table for my potatoes. All right, we're going to put the family heirloom, the sausage, and, oh, wait a second. You know what? Another thing that's good to think through are the trivets, because these things are going to be hot coming out of the oven. Excuse my messy drawers here. So I am going to use these. I'll be flying in with 2 of these. Okay, then I'm going to put the stuffing here at the head of the table. Okay, and then for Mom's candied yams, I am going to put those here. I love this thing. It is the Pyrex Baker, the 9x13, and it fits into these baskets. If you were part of my subscription box years ago, you probably have one too. I love them. All right, so I have 2 of those, and then I just have room for my salads. I'm gonna put my broccoli salad on here. I'm gonna do the quinoa butternut squash on here, and I'm gonna do the harvest salad on there. And then this is really a good reality check, because you see, this is why I go through this. It will dictate how many pieces you actually can have on the table, which will dictate how many recipes you can actually make. Okay, perfect timing. Now I can ask him. Okay, if you had your choice, potato stuffing or corn pudding?
Potato stuffing. You kidding me or what?
Let's see, is that gonna work? Yeah, that's probably gonna work. And I would love to make that corn pudding for my mom because she really loves it. So maybe we'll put a little corn pudding down here in something. If I could just squeeze in Mom's corn pudding on here. Let's see, I think I could probably make it in a pie plate. That's a pretty pie plate, okay. So this is reality check number 1. Do all of the platters and serving pieces that connect with the recipes you wanna make all fit on your buffet? So it's tight, but yeah, they fit. I'm just gonna have to get creative with my Tablescape for some decor in the center there, and come up with something for the bread. But the other thing before I totally lock this plan that I need to figure out is, do these casserole dishes that need to be reheated, because I'm gonna make most of these side dishes the day before, do they all fit in my ovens at the same time? Because that also is a reality check. So now, one thing that we did when we bought this house 13 years ago is we really wanted double ovens. So my parents were sweet enough to treat us to the double ovens when we bought this house, because we basically had no more money left. And they were so kind to do it. I think it was a way to get us to host all the holidays, which we absolutely do and we absolutely love. But it does make heating up the side dishes easy. Now, if you only have one oven, this is what you do. You take the turkey out, you let it rest, and then you can put usually 4 side dishes in your oven. But you need to make sure you're working with the right size. So let's test it and let's see. Oops, I'm gonna put the 2 sausage and potato casseroles. They fit in there, that's good. There, I think this just fits. All right, and then let's just pretend this is the bottom oven. There, and look, there's room for the corn pudding. Now, even I have room in the oven for something bigger for the corn pudding, I don't have room on my buffet for anything bigger. So I think we're just gonna have to go with this unless I come up with something else. That's okay, there we go. All right, reality check number 2, checked. This is looking like a lot of white, which it is, in gray. The food will help it, it'll make it pop, but I also need something in the center here just to give it a little bit of interest. So I have these beautiful little cache pos that my dad actually designed. They're really awesome. He used to have this accessory line. Unfortunately, they're not in production any longer, so I cherish them, but they make for great places to put arrangements in. And I think just to give it some color, I'm gonna add some ficus with pomegranates and little baby crab apples, maybe some baby pears, and I think that will look really pretty in the center. All right, it'll be better arranged, but just to kind of get a sense for the color, I think that that helps. And another thing that I think would be pretty would be some of these corn husks here. They are held together with these rubber bands that don't look so great, but when you undo them, they don't really stack up so nicely like that. So I think I'll just keep some of them with the rubber band and then take the rubber band off a few others and just lay them on top. Let's see what that looks like. You know, because the husks are so cool And they also give a little dimension and height, and they hide the rubber band on the other one. All right, I am feeling like this is not really working. I think maybe they would be prettier in a bowl. Let's see, like something clear, like this. And if we just see, this is why we have to do this before Thanksgiving. We cannot leave this to the day of. This would totally stress me out, trying to figure this all out. And let's just see if I arrange them a little bit better. Like a real little bonfire. Isn't that pretty? I just think they're so beautiful. Will people think they're there to eat? I don't know. No, that's not really working either. Well, I could forget about the corn and leave those for outside. Let's see where we're gonna put this. Here we go. My kitchen is a total mess. Excuse the mess. And maybe I have a thought. So I could do something like this. I could put this little raised cutting board thing here. And this would actually work out pretty well for the bread because I do need a place for the bread. I could do the biscuits on one side and the focaccia on another. My other thought, I could use this as a bowl for the bread. It's a salad bowl, but I really love them as bread bowls, especially when you just add like a pretty napkin like that, just to raise it up. Is that weird? There's a lot on this table. And then I do like to have little like arrangements at the end just to kind of keep everything along the same vein. And this is just greenery that I found outside. It's this bottle brush bush, and in the fall they change colors, and look how pretty that is. In LA we don't get many leaves that change colors, so this is my one representation of fall. And I think once I put the pomegranates and little pears and whatnot in there, they'll all sort of relate to each other. And I just think it looks like a lot of stuff because there's no food here and the chairs are here. I feel like if once the chairs are gone, it just is gonna look like a very full buffet, right? Okay, and then the other thing I do, I come back to my little drawer of tricks here because I have to make sure I have a serving piece for each thing. That way, if you come up short, you know what you need. So let's see, this I'm gonna use this for the turkey. I usually pick these up at the French flea markets when we're over there, but I have also found a few on Etsy to fill in the gaps. So that's another great spot. My one piece of advice though is whatever serving piece you use, make it a one-piece serving. So if someone comes here, they're gonna take the turkey, just give them a fork to put the turkey. Same with like, you know, the cranberry sauce of the potatoes. Because if you do something like two, you know, like the 2 spoons or something, it's really hard when somebody is carrying a plate to like figure out how are they gonna like take 2 things. It should just be one piece where they scoop, plop it on their plate and go. And if you keep the spoon size small, it'll stretch the food. I think I'm gonna have to do that this year. Just a little taste. Okay, I think that's it. I don't think we can fit one more thing on this table or it might collapse. I know it's crazy to add one more thing to this table, but I'm really loving these beautiful corn with the husks. And I think I might just twist this around, you know, like cut one off to cover the rubber band and the little hook. But I actually think they're better maybe on this table than outside. Maybe I can use the little ones for outside, and then I can just take these off when it comes time. So having this all worked out ahead of time is just like one less thing you need to stress over because you know you have a plan, and plans are like the security blanket when it comes to entertaining. If you know you have a plan, you just fall back on the plan. But I would recommend taking a picture of the plan because 2 weeks from now, I might forget how this all fits together. I'm gonna take a picture. And I will see you back here next week for part 2 of my Thanksgiving vlog.